Yo, what is up, guys? If you couldn't tell by the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about the esports team known as Virtual 9 or R9, which I formerly owned and was a part of, and why I no longer own it, and why I'm no longer a part of it. And without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so in the beginning, I joined around 6 months ago, having no problems with the team itself or any of the members. But further on, as I got to know more of the people, there seemed to be like a lot of toxic relationships with a lot of the team members and what was happening on the inside. And once I started to genuinely talk to people, people would complain about the owners, including Zolfy, the original owner of R9, and the owner known as Carter, or used to be known as Clinks. And there would be a lot of complaining about just not how they know how to run the team, or if they know how to like do stuff for the separate teams for each game. After a while of complaining and just sitting and waiting, the server ended up being really dead. Same with the team itself, because there was just no activity in the tournaments, no activity in really the whole server. And after a while, Clinks stepped down as owner and gave me, and who was formerly known as R9 Dazed, now known as Sin Dazed, ownership of the server, which we sat and removed a lot of inactive people from the server who had not been active for months on months. After we talked to them and they said they were no longer part of it, removing a lot of people with a suspicion of the server looking like it was completely dying. And Clinks, the new owner, or Carter, thought that the server was completely dying after me and Day's ownership, which was not true, as it was just us removing members. But it did look suspicious, and it did start a lot of stuff between all the members. I will bring up the removing members later on, but once we started making and creating onto the server, it was starting to gain more traction, or at least our esports team name was starting to get a little bit known, because I was posting content continuously daily on TikTok and YouTube. And once they realized that, they didn't really say much, but they wanted to start a Minecraft server known as the Last to Die server, which I don't think is continued anymore. But once they started that, there was a lot of beef between one of the members that wasn't officially part, that was still becoming a trainee and getting recruited. He had stolen money from another member, causing a fight and a breakout between all the members, including Clinks, Zolify, BXCA, and Astro, which all, once after I had settled it, it became fine. There was no more problem. But Zolify continued to have problems with me, which you can see right here, and he would just cuss me out, saying that I was looking bad for the team, or or my recruits were looking bad for the team, or anything that I did was bad. But I tried to handle it as well and properly as one mannered person should. But after a while, after that event, everybody just had bad blood between each other and would kind of just like not talk to anybody. And the server was kind of dying because of it. But after a while of gaining traction because of my posts, they started to like really like get riled up and start to attack one another. And after they had their own beefs between each other and argued, and everybody would just be rude to one another, they finally, or what we thought was finally solved, was they finally solved their beef. And after a while, they thought it would end, pretty much. Once we started removing the members, they believed that the esports team was dying or on its way to be a dead esports team. And pretty much Clinks, or Carter, brought up the situation to Zolify, the original owner and the owner of the server. And he would go on to suggest new ownership of the server, and knowing Clinks was originally an owner before us. But Clinks said he should talk to me and Dazed, former owners who were owning at the time, whether we should add or suggest and promote our esports team, which we were already doing, to get more members for recruitment, which we were already doing. And once he suggested that, he didn't talk to us whatsoever and just kicked and banned us from the server, causing a lot of drama to spill out. And me and Carter, or Clinks, to argue over a lot of stupid stuff, not knowing why it was and what happened, cussing each other out. And later on, we learned that it was Zolify that did that, and we began to have heated conversations on why. And then after we were deciding to stay with R9 at the moment, but then something came up that was really extremely bad. So once everything was solved, not really, but in a manner it was solved, it was kind of everybody's blood was boiling against one another's, and nobody really liked one another. But we were all gonna decide to stay with R9 until later the day, Clinks, or Carter, started to say some pretty rude things about not only me and Dazed, but about my family as well, and would go on to say stuff about our money and how we live and all that stuff, and would start to just say some pretty rude and unreasonable stuff in the moment, causing us to create our own esports team known as Sin Esports or Sinless Esports. But it wouldn't just end there, because there would still be beef between esports teams, which I'll get into more a little later. And he just evidently just kept on attacking us, but in the end we kind of just said sorries and had it fixed. It wasn't really fixed, it was just kind of left alone at the moment, and no one really dealt with it. But pretty much after all the initial beef, everybody kind of just solved it, and then it kind of came after each team going after one another. But once we solved that, everybody kind of said sorries, and it's decently fine now. But that's pretty much it, and that's really what happened and why we don't own or why we're not part of R9 anymore. After pretty much all the initial beef and the esports beef, we're kind of just leaving each team alone and to themselves. Obviously, we will throw tournaments for money, rewards, prizes, and all that, but we're just kind of not bothering each other members and owners, as it might start more conflict. But in the end, everything's alright, and that's why we don't own or be part of R9 anymore. And thank you for watching the video. I hope you like it, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.